Mr. Callahan, other than his father I played against in the Super Bowl, and he was offensive line coach with the Raiders, and Bill Callahan, and he moved up, obviously. That's really all I know. But I always thought that Zach Taylor was the one really calling the plays in Cincinnati.
Wait a minute.
That is correct.
But they keep moving the goalposts on how they hire people. Now, all of a sudden, Eric Bieniemy is calling plays at Washington, but wasn't calling them and getting the credit in Kansas City, even though they was rolling and winning and everything. It's just funny. This is an exciting hire to me when I go and I look at his career. He was a coaching assistant in 2010, quality control coach in 2011, 2012, all with Broncos, offensive assistant in 2013 to 2015. He was the quarterback coach of the Lions in 16 and 17, the Raiders quarterback coach in 18, the Bengals 2019 and present offensive coordinator. It's a weird hire to me. You know, if they like it, I love it. That's really as much as I can give you. I just question the moving of the goalposts when you go to hire people all the time. And so now it makes me scratch my head and think there's only been one coach that's hired that's African-American, and that's AP, that was with the Raiders. So all them Aaron Glenn's and everything, my homeboy, you might have to just, they done met the quota, it feel like to me already. So AG may have to wait another cycle or two. Eric Bieniemy may have to wait another cycle or two because this is wild to me.
That's insane. I mean, you talk about as a coordinator of the Bengals, they went to the one Super Bowl with Joe Burrow, and it's cool. Gotcha. But he has a 37-44-1 record as an OC. They haven't had a ton of success in recent memory. But Eric Bieniemy and that staff had gone to multiple Super Bowls. They had done a ton of great things offensively, ranked in the top 5 multiple years in a row. And they told us the reason he can't get a coordinator job is because he didn't call the plays, because Andy Reid's calling the plays, just as Zach Taylor's calling the plays. And so that is killing me, because I'm sitting here like Key's saying, and you hear about all these qualified candidates who are doing a phenomenal job. You look at Wilkes in San Francisco. You look at Aaron Glenn. You talk about Bieniemy. We could talk about coaches like Caldwell from back in the day who had winning records and were fired. But Raheem Morris right now probably should have a job. Did one of the most incredible coaching jobs in the National Football League with a very young team that basically overachieved to get in the playoffs and were very competitive. But then you give me a coordinator who doesn't call plays for a team that isn't even in the playoffs. It leaves me scratching my head on, why did you even fire Vrabel? Why did you fire Vrabel to go with this direction? Like, if you're going to fire Vrabel, then you go Ben Johnson. You go at least a coordinator that's on a team that's in a championship, that's in the playoffs, that's having some winning tendencies this season. Maybe you go to the Rams OC. I don't know. Maybe you go Bobby Slowick, who took a young team to the playoffs. But you're telling me you're going with a coordinator from a team that isn't even winning.
But you keep saying coordinator. Coordinator entitled. Okay? Because even his own head coach, and Zach Taylor, acknowledges that the fact that he helped develop the system, which all coaches do. Even my receiver coaches help develop the system because they have input on what routes you should run. Yes, he's coached other positions, but when you start talking about coordinating and things of that nature, the Los Angeles Chargers just experienced a guy who was a defensive coordinator in Brandon Staley who rose so fast at the top of the coaching charts.
Quickly.
They just experienced that. Now, maybe Tennessee, Skip, they feel like with Will Levis, they want a guy who coached Joe Burrow and knows that, and maybe it rubs off on Will Levis when he comes back next year. Maybe that's the case. I'm not excited about the hire, and I don't think Tennessee Titans fans are excited about it either.
I don't either. Okay, so what do we know about what happened to Mike Vrabel? Amy Adams Strunk, now the owner of the Tennessee Titans, the daughter of the late Bud Adams, said she wanted somebody who would be more collaborative, that Mike was too much his own man, that she wanted somebody who would vibe with everybody in the front office, Carthon, everybody else, where they could do it together. And obviously, Mike Vrabel is not a together head coach. He's a chip off Belichick's block, didn't coach for him, played for him, obviously. And so Vrabel's out, and yet just a couple of years back, he was the coach of the year. And now you have gone and found a man who, I give him this, and Keyshawn brought it up. I know Bill Callahan. He's a really good football coach, and he was the head coach of those Raiders that year that you kicked their tails, Keyshawn, in the Super Bowl. But the point is, what Bill did best, what he does best, continues to do best, is coach the offensive line. And what I know of his son was he was a walk-on football player at UCLA and never did anything more than hold for extra points and field goals. And then he started up the ladder. I'm sure his father helped him a bit get his foot in the door with Gary Kubiak's staff. But can you give him any credit for Peyton's development? I think not. Then he was on the Detroit staff as the quarterback coach. Are you going to give him any credit for Matt Stafford's development? I think not. Are you really going to give him any credit for Joe Burrow's development in Cincinnati, where he's the quote-unquote offensive coordinator? No, it's Zach Taylor runs that offense. He's the game planner. He's the play caller. So now I'm back to my biggest pet peeve about this, which goes, it's not what you guys were talking about, but I don't know how any assistant coach is prepared to be a head coach, because the system in place, it's not like that there's a minor leagues where you can go be a head coach and learn how to do all the duties of a head coach before you get to the big time. I mean, Brian knows from his father what it's like to be a head coach, but the truth is he can have no real idea of what it's really like to run, to be the CEO, because there's no training system in place to do that. So this is all going to be new to him, and I guess they'll collaborate and help him, and they'll do a lot of the duties maybe that he doesn't know how to do yet. I don't know, but I don't know how he's qualified. And then to your larger point about how few black head coaches have been hired in the cycle, except for Antonio, you know, at least Antonio was the head coach at Long Beach Poly for a while. You know, at least he knew what it was like to run a football team.
But he also, the thing with Antonio Pierce, he also was a head coach in high school. He was a defensive coordinator at Arizona State.
He was.
With Herm Edwards, who was a former NFL coach, along with Marvin Lewis as a former NFL coach. Marvin Lewis also was helping him with the Raiders to just understand what it's like to be a head coach. Look, I'm not going to go as far as to say that the guy won't be a terrific head coach. He may be the best head coach ever. He may go on and win 20 Super Bowls. I don't know that. But what I do know, as of right now, you can't tell me that he is the most qualified candidate out there that's available. You can't, you will never be able to sell me that. But he interviews well. I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe they're looking for somebody who interviews well.
But you can't. I can make the argument right now, just with what we know, everything we have in front of us, that they just got worse at head coach. They got worse. And so when they fired Vrabel, the owner said she didn't want to miss out on some of these great head coaching candidates in this cycle. That's why they made this move. And then you hired this guy. You know, I mean, not that he's not great, or he could potentially be great, but on the list of names, he wasn't on the top 10 or top 5 on anybody's list. It was Harbaugh, Belichick. I mean, you could go Pete Carroll, Ben Johnson, all these coordinators and these defensive, offensive coordinators, whichever direction you want to go. But you're not going for an offensive coordinator for a team that's not even in the playoffs. And you're firing a really good head coach that has this team fighting week in and week out for him. Defensively, you don't have the most talent, and he's drawing up game plans that are really competitive. And you fire him for a guy that's not even calling plays for his team because it's collaborative. I just don't understand that.
Well, maybe he'll hire his dad. Maybe he'll hire his dad as his offensive line coach, and that'll be a good start for him. His father's a really good offensive line coach.
He's one of the best. He's right at the top of the list. And he may be, I don't know if you can make a lateral move because he is an offensive line coach. So I'm not sure, but I'm sure he will try to get his father there, and that would be the best move that he could make.
Yeah, he should certainly try and get his father there, and I'm sure Cincinnati will sign off on it, or somebody will you know, the league will say, okay, yeah, you can have him. We don't need to take any draft picks or whatever the case. Or it may make him assistant head coach or something with a different title that it doesn't become a lateral move. I just don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys start off as assistant coaches and become head coaches who have never been coordinators before. I'm not knocking that. I just, like Richard, this is out of left field. It just doesn't seem like they know what the hell they're doing.
No, and it doesn't align with her reason for firing Vrabel. Like, I thought they were going to bring Harbaugh in. They about to bring Belichick in. They're bringing all these ex-head coaches, these big-time names in because she's like, hey, we got to make this move while the market's hot. And then you bring in a guy who didn't even...
Is that what she said?
That's what she said. What'd she say, Skip? Could you give me the exact quote?
Okay, but the only one I read was about we needed somebody who will collaborate. Well, obviously, Belichick or Pete Carroll or Jim Harbaugh are not going to collaborate with Amy Adams Strunk. I don't know.
They're not. But look, it's okay if that's what she was looking for as far as a head coaching candidate goes. Again, this is not the best resume that's available.
No.
Never mind the old wizards that we talk about as coaches. They get them dudes out, all the Harbaughs and Belichicks and Pete Carrolls. I'm talking about the Aaron Glenns, the Eric Bieniemys,
you're right.
the Ben Johnsons.
You are right.
Even the fact that I would throw a Rex Ryan in the mix as a reheat or microwave him.
Sure.
He has a better resume.
I would agree.
You know, so that's the only thing that
no doubt.
I'm like, you know, Raheem Morris?
Well,
come on, man. Like,
there
seriously, Raheem, what he has done with the Los Angeles Rams in terms of defensive coordinating, whether it was winning a Super Bowl, taking this defense this year with scraps and putting it together to get into the playoffs, this is ridiculous.
All right.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, to both your points, I have a lot of friends in Nashville, and I hope for their sake that Brian Callahan turns into an all-time great hire. So good luck to all of you.
Maybe he becomes Jeff Fisher for them.
Yeah, there you go. We got to get back to my Dallas Cowboys because CeeDee Lamb's mother says Dak gotta go.
Hey, Mommy.
I agree.
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.